Music has benefits. I'm not your ordinary cheat. I've got a lot of love to share with little short and nappy hair. Taking time to let you know, am I kind of beautiful? Thick hips and sexy girl, don't you be ashamed. No, 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 no. Wonderful. Music has benefits. I'm not your ordinary cheat. I've got a lot of love to share with little short and nappy hair. Taking time to let you know, am I kind of beautiful? Thick hips and sexy girl, don't you be ashamed. No, 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 no.
Hey everybody, welcome to Jamila J Girl Talk on Filtered Talk, Mind, Body, Soul, Business. Hey, I missed you guys last week. You know, it's Easter Sunday, so we had to take that time out, for Resurrection Sunday. So we're back. Chuck, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Jamila. It's excited to be back. It felt kind of odd last week not doing the show, but
It was weird.
All for the best.
Yeah.
But we good now. So let's go ahead and do what we do. And I'm very excited and looking forward to the show today. So let's rock.
Okay. I have two very special guests, and not by accident, but by choice. Karen, you guys, she was on our show before, and I'll just tell you a little bit about happened with me. I had a friend that passed, and she was in an abusive relationship, and she had children. She has 3 children, 7, 5, and a 3-month-old baby. So when I heard about her passing, I reached out to Karen. And of course, Karen, she knows a little bit about losing a parent at a young age. So she sent me and the China, Remembering China, she sent us her book. So shout out to Karen again. Thank you. And then we have Naeem. I've been checking out Naeem for a while. He has a really unique philosophy on love and relationships. And I wanted him to come and just tell us about what love feels like, what love looks like, how as women that we should be, we should be treated. But of course, men have domestic violence and abusive relationships too. So hopefully, the mother may join us. I'm not sure she was supposed to be here, but if not, this is about China. China was 31, and she loved her kid's father. I'm outside looking in. I'm the teacher. So we bonded through the kids, trying to help the kids read and write and be productive citizens. So we bonded. So Chuck, you always say don't judge people. So I never judged people. And whenever she needed help, I would always try to help her. So that's my perspective. I'm on the outside looking in. I know things wasn't right, but I really did not get in her business, right? So with that being said, she was 31. She was a nurse, and she loved her kids. She loved her father, her baby's father, her baby daddy. And I think that was her downfall. He was not the stand-up, I guess, man that would want my daughter to be with. So with that being said, I just like to talk about, as women and men, we get into relationships that's not healthy for us. It could be abusive, sexually. It could be abusive emotionally. It could be abusive physically, psychologically. So we're going to talk about abuse, and we're going to remember China. And I dedicate the show to China. And with that being said, Najieb, can you introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me. I'm Najieb, and they call me the Love Doctor on here, on my show, which is Love 101, Feel Good Talk Love 101. My whole role and purpose for being here on this show or my show, any podcast or presentation, is to give another way of looking at love and healthy relationships. I'm not here to claim that anyone's way is right or wrong, just here to give another way, a way that perhaps could be helpful. And it's based on universal principles. So the principles that are helpful for everybody in every situation, every time, regardless of the type of relationship that you're in. So that's what I'm here for. I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you for being here. And you also emailed me a book. It's CULT, Cult. So when we'll talk about it in that detail. Okay. And Karen, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's a blessing. And as I journey through this thing called life right now, I learned to start saying things are bittersweet, because we join in, we're happy to see each other again and everything, but the bitter part has to come. And I appreciate you inviting me after you read my book. And I laughed a little when we were talking on a previous show. And as you were opening the book, you had so many pages highlighted, and that's what it's for. That's what it's about. So when an issue happens close to you, you say, wait a minute, I remember somebody talked about this. So I'm grateful to be here, not just because you read my book, but because something spoke out to you that could help somebody else. And then when you messaged me about the topic that you were going to talk, my husband kind of chuckled sometimes, because I'd be ready to dive in, being a child survivor of sexual assault, being an adult survivor of domestic violence, where I had to flee after calling the police, where I wear so many T-shirts. So when somebody says, can you, before you finish the sentence, I'm like, yes, because like Najieb, I'm not here to cast judgment or say what's right or wrong. Yeah. I'm here to share a little bit of insights and nuggets. One, because I lived it, felt it, breathed it. And two, it's time that we talk about it before some facts, not just after, because we're gonna keep uplifting China's name, but we want to also be here for the future Chinas, that we can give them some insight, because like you said, men also are victims of all abuse, because statistics show 1 in 4 women are victims of abuse, but 1 in 9 men are also victims who experience intimate violence, and they don't come out because other men shame them. So I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you. Chuck, you want to go to a commercial, or you want to jump right in it?
Yeah, we'll go to the commercial break, 30-second break, then we'll come right back. This is the A Games, our sponsor for today, and check it out. All right, and that is the A game. Again, it's great for your vitality, gives you strength and libido. And give me a call at 302-723-2836. Again, 302-723-2836 to get your A game on. Free samples are going now. So back to you, Jamila.
We want the free samples.
Hey, they you know, they're gone. So I gave more than what I should, and it was cool because now everybody's happy. That's the main thing. So
Yeah.
all right.
So let's get back to the show. As women, we have a fantasy. I've had the fantasy. We want the white picket fist. We want the man. We want the kids. We want the career. And sometimes things just don't happen that way. And so when you get into a situation that's not healthy for you, you have to get out. And I just think China didn't have a way out because she did love hard. And I know she wanted that family unit. So with that being said, let's talk about the cult, C-U-L-T, Naeem.
Okay. Well, again, this is a good. Interestingly enough, if you can share my screen, Charles, I'll show you where I have it here on Amazon. This is the book Cult 101, A Guide to Understanding Cult Mindset and Behavior. And I'm using the word cult, but what I'm really talking about is dysfunctional or abusive relationships. So, for example, this is inside of the book right here. And what we're talking about in a cult is a book that is a relationship that is based on control or controlling. Mean they are abusive relationships and groups that thrive on total control over the lives of others, of the quote unquote devotees, the other person or people in it. It's unloving, meaning it's fear-based. It's offered conditional love in exchange for obedience. And this first part, control, is very important. Control is what all cults and abusive relationships thrive off of. So cults operate on all of the principles of fear and none of the principles of love. The first principle of love is freedom. And there's no true freedom in a cult. So lies and lying, that's for the L, it's based on deception, manipulation, and lies. So cults gain control over devotees' lives by selling them lies about salvation, healing, and truth. But in fact, they only offer guilt, pain, and deception. And then, of course, trauma. They cause massive trauma mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically. So cults, aka abusive relationships, traumatize people on many levels, which is why healing and recovery is always necessary for anyone fortunate enough to escape a cult or abusive relationship. And so I talk about cults, but what we're really talking about is all abusive relationships. But I disguised my book about abusive relationships as a book about cults because abusive relationships are cults. And the first thing that people don't realize about a cult is that the first thing to realize that you don't know you're in one. That's how powerful the indoctrination is, the mental abuse. And we're going to talk about different types of abuse here. First, I want to talk about what a functional and dysfunctional relationship look like. So here on the left side, we have an abusive relationship, which is based on fear, attack, anger, abuse, conflict, confusion, trauma, and separation. And on the healthy side, you have freedom, appreciation, communication, trust, truth, and sincerity. This is the facts of love and fear. I invite you to screenshot this. I'm saying this because I deal in universal principles. And I want us to see just how it permeates into even relationships with your friends, your family, people that, we're using the word love, like, oh, I love you. I'm going to love, I'm going to stick in there. But it's sticking in there in a situation that is abusive. Is it really loving? I'm just asking a question here. We think that by showing how much pain we can take that we're experiencing love. And this is something that I offer for us to look at as a model for what a universal position, a universal look at love and fear or healthy and unhealthy relationships alike. So I want to before I open up, just say that I'm looking forward to this conversation and to the conversation from anyone in the comments as well, because I'm going to have questions, because as well, not just solutions. I want to talk about this in 3 parts. Number 1 is understanding what an abusive relationship is. And then number 2 is identifying it. And number 3, how to have solutions, how to get yourself out of that or help someone else who's in it. Because it's, as we said, it's not just men and women. And I'm not here to talk about men and women particularly. I'm here to talk about the mindset that we've all been programmed to have. Because abuse, by the end of this show, I hope to show how each of us have elements of abusive relationships in our relationships with people right now, today, that are abusive based on the principles of abusive relationships. Because once you jump into, oh, someone's physically attacking you, that's clear that that's abusive. But where did that come from? Did that just come from, oh, I just meet you, hey, you're so beautiful, punch you in the face? Like that doesn't happen like that. It's there's stages to this, and it starts with the thought. So what are the thoughts that surround an abusive relationship? We're talking about different kinds of abuse: emotional, mental, psychological, verbal, physical, financial, also social, trying to control who you socialize with and your personal space and your privacy, going over boundaries, and also subtle abuse that we may not be aware of, that I want to get into all of that. So I'm gonna just pause for the cause right there, because I don't want to say everything. But yeah, that's the cause.
I just think you're absolutely right. There's so many levels to abuse. And I think this conversation may go on longer than today. So I'm just open, because it's so important. But while you were breaking down the cult, I was thinking of things that China, I'm always going to go back to China. That's my reference point. But when men tell you you're too fat, and plus size women, oh, you're too fat. I'm just, nobody, and another thing they'll say, nobody else wants you. Nobody else will want you. You're not smart enough. You're not cute enough. You're not sexy enough. Karen, talk about that level of abuse, and that's psychological.
Yeah, psychological, but a lot of abuse stems from intimidation. That's where it kind of starts. And as I'm listening to Naeem, we're on the same page. Are a little bit different, but we're on the same page. He's coming from the mindset. I come from being in the abusive relationships, but then also running a domestic violence and sexual assault program and working within for about 10 years. So cases, as he's going through the cult, I'm like, man, I could have used that book 10 years ago. So I'm thinking of the cases. But as far as like with China and the intimidation, a lot of abuse, when you think about it, power and control. Naeem picked up on that a little bit. Power and control. Most people, when I think about some cases I've dealt with, I always like to say there's this triangle. And with the triangle, and it's like, say like you got 3 children, triangle. And if they grew up in an abusive household, if they dealt with any type of trauma or anything, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have one that's going to be like the abuser, one that's going to pull back and be like the victim, who you're going to have one that's going to stray away so far, the quiet one, or the one that excels in sport. Everybody's like, oh, that's a perfect child, but they're like suicidal with it. So in China's case, and because I know this, because I was China, and 3rd or 4th time I stayed, statistics show a woman being abused will leave up to 7 times before, 1, she goes back and stay for good because I got children. 2, I'm going to fix him. 3, the Bible says I'm not supposed to get divorced because they don't understand. So it's a lot of scenarios where they don't leave, or the only way they leave is their murder. So when you think about it that way, I'm grateful for this show that we start talking, because like you reference how you knew her and you knew she was going through stuff and everything. I have this thing. I created a training once on being nice nosy. And pray for me every time I walk out the house because I'm nice nosy. And I'm nice nosy to the point because some of us start to understand the signs and the symptoms of what's going on. I tell people every time before the holidays come and you're getting back together for Thanksgiving, pay attention to your cousin who don't act like she used to act. If you notice something's wrong when you go by her too fast and they shake her, jump, say, oh, show me that dress you was talking about. Try to get them out the room just to go talk, because those are the tiny things where we can let people understand somebody sees, somebody understands. And I will tell you this, there is typically always a window of opportunity that they can flee. Let me tell you, that window of opportunity is very small. It's very small. Safety planning as well, but and that's a whole nother show. But that window of opportunity is very small, and sadly, women, and we said men are victims as well, but we're going to highlight China. Women, we are nurturers. We are taught. Anybody teaches us that we can get a job and we're strong as men. They teach us we need to clean. They teach us we need to learn how to cook for the husband. They teach us those type of things. So that stays in our head. And then when we get around a male who think we're supposed to do this, and when I pull reports on abusers in the past, I even pull from a prison, men who were in prison and who they abused or murdered. And I went through the whole history of it all. And what I learned is a high percentage of them were victims themselves. They were raped as children. They were children, but nobody helped them with the layers that they dealt with. So it was learned behavior.
Jamila, you on mute.
From the audience?
Jamila, you was on mute. I'm sorry.
I didn't hear you.
Say that again, Jamila.
Oh, I just said if we had any feedback from the audience. That was great, Karen.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of feedback. Actually, let me see exactly. Just got a lot of hellos. Got Sky Darling out there. She says, hello, fam. What's going on, Sky? Thanks for tuning in. We also got Tyrone Ricks. He said the Tenant Life is tuned in. Hey, thanks, Ty. You always tuned in. We appreciate your support. He also says, good afternoon, Jamila J. Choice, the Love Doctor, Karen Dickens Brown, and big homie Charles Blakey. Hey, man, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. We got Shayna Gordine. Good afternoon. What's up, Shayna? Thanks for tuning in. And Sky Darling says, please share this broadcast. And she also says, thank you for doing this show today. My sister was a victim, and I miss her so much. Yeah, sorry to hear about that, Sky. And hey, prayers to you on that one. And we got Breon Nichols. He says, what up, y'all? What's going on, Breon? Thanks for tuning in. So again, hey, Karen, you said the right thing. A lot of the abusers, they were the abusees at one time. So again, they doing what they know, and they learn. I mean, they're doing exactly what was done to them. So again, it's a learned behavior in most cases, and that's very true. So I just wanted to point that out. And again, men are, yep. And even though it's on, we're focusing elsewhere, but again, men are abused as well, but they don't talk about it, like you said, because of the fact that either they will be, they think they'll be laughed at, or you're a man, so you should be able to take this. You know what I mean? So, hey, abuse is abuse. You know what I mean? So. That's all I had to say, but I guess we'll go back to Jamila because you did have a question until I put you on mute because we had some back feed, so I'm sorry about that.
No worries. I know my dog is barking, but I was thinking as you were talking, Karen, about China's spouse or the father of her children, and I think you're really right about how people are raised and whether or not they were abused also. As women and men, when we choose our partners, Naeem, what are the things we should look for in terms of creating that healthy relationship?
Oh, let's look for what we don't want first, because we're talking about abuse. So we got to look at let me bring you through the first few levels of where it starts mentally, because that's where it all starts, mentally, with thought. And thank you for what you said also, Karen. You said a lot. And one of the things about just what you know, people are taught, men and women, about being victims themselves, about going back 7 times, about, you know, it's like, what caused the person to go back in a situation which is clearly not healthy and abusive and physically violent? And we got to realize that it's a lot deeper than that, because we don't start our statistics. By the way, most domestic abuse, two things I want to say, 2 statistics. One is a joke, the other one is true. 98.5% of all statistics are made up on the spot. Second thing is that most of the statistics about, especially these sort of things that happen behind closed doors, go unreported. All right.
Yes.
We do not know. We can say 1 in 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't know for sure. What we do know for sure is that it goes unreported, because each of us knows someone who is or was in a situation that was clearly abusive. Like, to the most simple person would know it's abusive. So my goal is to help us recognize the stages of abuse, where it starts from, how it ended up to a black eye, or how it ended up into, you know, someone in the emergency room, or ending up dead, God forbid. And, you know, for all of those who are dealing with this, and again, this is for China and all those Chinas out there, and because China did not end up this way because just all of a sudden it just happened. There were stages, and I want to bring us back to the first stage so we can recognize in our own lives and the lives of others where it started from. So first is the thought system. Can we go to my screen again, Charles? So any thought system or anything that's based in fear, you're afraid to be who you are. You're afraid to, you know, to express yourself. You're afraid to be the person that you were before you met this person. And I'm speaking for men and women. That's not healthy. Where you feel like you're going to be attacked, or that someone's going to get angry at you for doing something, or there's going to be abuse or conflict, confusion, etc. Or I feel like they're going to leave me if I tell them that I want to do this. Or I want to pursue a degree. I don't know if they're going to support me. Just that thought alone is where it starts. And then your thought becomes your emotion, meaning how you feel. Your emotions, this is stage 2. Stage 3 is the energy behind it. Because you can have an emotion that's low energy. For example, depression, right? Depression is a very low energy. Oh, I'm in the bed. I don't feel like getting up, doing anything, cooking, cleaning. But it's an energy out of the emotion of fear, meaning you feel fear, but it's a low energy. But then that emotion of anger, is that energy higher or lower than depression? Anger is a lot like, right? That's a lot higher. And so the energy level of that is a lot higher than depression, you know? And so in anger, rage, frustration, jealousy, those are higher level of energy. And then you have your words that come out of that, right? Somebody coming at you and saying, you know, any kind of, the point is not specifically the words, but if they're coming from a place of anger with their words, then it's going to be a lot more hostile sounding than if they're just coming from sad or upset or depressed. You got words and you got the actions. And that's where the actions, let me show you another screen here talking about abuse. We got different kinds of abuse. In this situation, this book, this is the cult book, I deal with emotional, physical, information, and thought. So right now we're just looking at emotional abuse. You asked, where should we start from, Jamila? Let's look at the emotional situation. And these are questions for the audience for you to understand if their relationship is abusive or not. So, does your relationship manipulate with guilt or shame? So answer yes or no. Are you guilt tripped or shamed for any reason whatsoever? It could be something. It could be your physical appearance. It could be your money. It could be your job. It could be your weight. It could be anything. Are you guilt tripped or shamed for any reason whatsoever? Are you expected to make their feelings your priority? Right? I don't feel good when you go out with your friends. I want you right here with me. It's like, well, you're free to go and be with your friends or go and do what you want to do, right? So you're not responsible for someone else's insecurity. Is there, labeling and condemning of certain actions, emotions, and feelings? Are some of your behaviors and feelings condemned as bad or wrong? Are you attacked for expressing yourself freely? Yes or no? Are certain body parts, sex, sexuality, and attraction condemned? Are your natural sexual impulses and physical attraction to others made wrong or bad? Are you attacked for expressing yourself sexually? Are you punished with isolation and dismissal? Are you shunned, dismissed, ghosted for disobedience, disagreement, or doing something they don't like, right? Are you given conditional praise and attention, meaning you're showered with praise and attention and affection only when you're being good or doing what they want you to do, but otherwise they give you the cold shoulder? Are you attacked for sharing your time, energy, and resources with anyone outside of them? Do you sometimes forget what it's like not to be with them? Do you feel you're losing yourself, your identity in a relationship? I'm asking it as questions because maybe somebody can relate, right? Again, are you told that your happiness, fulfillment, and love can be found exclusively in the relationship with that person? Are you attacked for seeking happiness elsewhere? Yes or no? Are you afraid of leaving a relationship? We talk about, you got, attacked or beaten for trying to leave or doing something, or them not knowing or tracking your movements. But do you feel like, oh, if I say I want to break up, or I don't want to, I need a break, do you feel like you're going to be attacked for that? That's a trigger, alarm bell in your own mind to know that this is not a healthy relationship. You shouldn't feel afraid to leave. You shouldn't feel afraid to stay. You shouldn't feel like you have to stay, have to go. You should feel free. And so if you don't, there you go. That's an abusive relationship. And if you haven't guessed, if you answer yes to any of these questions, then it's a clue. Have you been threatened for talking about leaving? Do you feel trapped? Are you uncertain of what they would do if you left? Do you feel reprisals, attack, or further abuse? Do you feel unsafe to express yourself? Do you feel you must justify yourself and your actions? Do you feel like they are emotionally unstable and could attack at any time? That's just the emotional part. There's so much more, but anyone listening, I have a list of questions here. So here's a question for everybody out here. I'm going to take my screen down and come back. You can answer anyone however you want. So, someone demanding to see your phone. I need to see who you're talking to, who you're following on social media. Is that a sign of a healthy or abusive relationship? Someone restricting your access to other people, saying, oh, I don't want you reaching out to her anymore. I see you talking to Jamila and Karen. I don't want you hanging out with them anymore. I don't want you hanging out with Charles, unless he sends some of that A game over. But otherwise, I don't want you hanging out with Charles. Right? Then is that a sign of a healthy or abusive relationship? Tracking your movements, saying, oh no, I just care about you. So I got to know where you are at all times and places, no matter what. I need your location. And again, this one, again, you may have, I'm not talking about children or people that, you're responsible for. I'm talking about adults that non-consensually, right? Or it's a demand. Like, I need to know where you're going or where you've been or who you with. Is that a sign of a healthy? Remember the key to unhealthy relationships, control. Are they trying to control you? Using your money without your consent. Oh yeah, I just charged your card. I want to buy something on Amazon. Just charge your. Or you see on your statement later, like, who brought this 200, things of A game? I keep gotta go back to it. At least we gotta promote our own stuff, right? It's like, I didn't give you permission to do that. So, how about this? Sexual things. This is a really tricky but not tricky one when you know the rules of consent. Someone thinking that they have the right to have sex with you at any time just because you did before, or just because you're in a relationship sexually, or just because you're married. Do you know that marital rape is a thing? Do you know that consent is a thing, even in a marriage, that you still need consent every single time? Men, women, both, everyone, everybody. If someone's like, oh, well, they're just approaching you just because they think they have the right to. How about this? Using sex as leverage to get something or to get you to do something. denying sex because, you know, you need to do this or you need to do that, and I'm not going to give you sex unless you do, or give you whatever, give you money, right? Give you the keys to the car. There was a story someone said about, I was listening to Jim Rohn. He's a personal development business coach, and he told a story about a woman who she was a very highly successful businesswoman, and he asked her, so how did you become successful? And this is where later on we talk about in the cult, how to get out of a cult. It all comes down to one decision that you just like, I've had it, enough is enough, I'm out of here. It has to be an undivided decision that this is not going to happen again. So basically, he said, how did you become so successful in such and such? And she said, you know, I was a young mother, you know, uneducated. I was relying on my baby's father, so-and-so, for all of the, you know, financial, everything. And one day I asked him for $10, and he said, what for? Right? And she said, from that day on, I decided I'm never going to ask anybody for money again. Right? It's like, this money, what do you mean, what for? Like, we have a child together. It shouldn't be a question, right? People say this stuff, oh, what's yours is mine and mine is yours, until it comes down to it. There shouldn't be a Spanish Inquisition about what you need to do. If you have a shared account and everything is everybody's, then there should be no question. But that's why you should also have your own account. So there's definitely no questions about what you're doing with your money, and that the access to it has to come through you. And then my last question to the group, to everybody, is someone's not respecting your privacy. They're saying that they need to, you know, they're not respecting your personal boundaries, your personal privacy. They need to know your passwords. They need to get in your phone. They need to know who you've been hanging out with, who you're following, why you unfollow your ex on social media, all of that. Is that a sign of a healthy or abusive relationship? These are just questions I'm throwing out here. And also, I want to put out here that although we're talking on behalf of those who have been abused or being abused, I also want to talk on behalf of being aware that maybe there's some tendencies that we have in certain relationships, demands we make, expectations we have, that kind of cross the line into non-consent and abuse ourselves, right? Who knows, like, why do I think that, oh, I'm just entitled to, how about this? Real simple one that you make, your friend, like, I borrow your car, Charles, like, you know, oh, I just gotta go to the store, I take your car out for a few hours, I come back, it was on a full tank when I took it out, I bring it back with a half tank. What's that? That's abuse, okay? It's abuse. Someone calling you on the phone or texting you only when they need something from you. That's abuse. Only when. Every other time, it's like you don't hear from them. But when they need some money, they need some whatever, even advice, but you don't hear from this person any other time, that's abuse. And I'm telling you that the physical abuse, which we can get into, it starts with these things that we sometimes overlook. It's like, oh no, I don't need to replace anything in the refrigerator. I'm gonna just come over to your house, Karen. I know you're always cooking, so I'm gonna just come and eat and leave the dishes, leave, you know. Oh, can I get it to go? I see you got leftovers. Gotta get something to go though, you know. It's like, oh, Karen, you cooking? No, I'm not cooking. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. Talk to you later. Karen, you cooking? Yeah, all right, I'm gonna be right over. That's abuse, okay? So again, I'm just putting it out there, from the littlest thing to the emergency room. Some of our relationships are in a state of emergency because we overlook the little things. We overlook consent. We overlook just, you know, decency and respect, boundaries in so many different ways that it has to be spoken about so that we can be aware of it and know what to look out for. All right, I'm gonna pause there. Thank you for listening.
Hey, Karen, you cooking? I'm just joking. Go ahead.
I heard you was.
No.
I'll be right
But
there.
I think everything you said is so real, and I think this can be a class. I really think this should be a class geared to you know, abuse, you know,
Yeah.
male and female individuals. But I want to go back to, you know, I kind of posed the question, but I'll kind of give it to Karen. When when, as a female, I can only speak from my perspective. As a female, we meet someone, and what are some of the red flags of someone that would be a potential abuser? I know everybody's a little different. I know with China's baby daddy, he was a foster child and he was never loved, and his mom was killed at an early age. So maybe talk about some of the childhood trauma that, you know, the generational curses that perpetuate these situations.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the red flags is pretty much what Naeem was talking about. When you start with the phones, I did a campaign once with regarding red flags. Well, actually, I picked up on it through the domestic violence, sexual assault, state of Virginia, something. They have a red flag campaign. So we took that into high schools to try to do prevention. And the same time we think we're doing prevention, these children are already 10 years ahead of what should have been told to them. So we passed out red flags and had them write different things down. One of the biggest things, of course, is electronics, your cell phone. And now, thank God, in the state of Virginia, if somebody takes your phone, don't let you have your phone back, and even tell you no, you can press charges because they can't take your phone. But a lot of the other red flags is it's sad how some red flags is what we think is normal. So healthy versus unhealthy what is unhealthy? Like myself growing up, being abused the way I was, but on the same side, we're having family gatherings, we're doing different things. So in my child mind, my mother was murdered. I still can't comprehend this. So what's happening in the household from 6 years old to whatever, to me, that's normal. It's normal until you start spending the night out at friends' houses and see, oh, they do this on this day, or they don't do that, or the uncle don't come in the room like at my house. So to me, it's normal. So how does that child then go into a healthy grown-up relationship when she's seeking the characteristics of the abuser? Because on one note, he's loving you and caring for you, but on another note, he's doing what you learn later is not normal. So you look for those tendencies. So healthy, unhealthy. In my mind, and I can only speak for myself, the grass to me seemed greener on the other side. I was oblivious to his nature. I was oblivious to his faults. I was oblivious to him saying, well, why are you doing this? Or why are you doing that? We think it's love. Oh, he really cares about me. He want to know where I'm at all the time. He want to know who's calling me. And Naeem, when you said $10, I about fell off my chair, because right now in my bedroom, I have what I do every time I get change. I take $5. If it's a $5 bill, or I have 5 singles, they're rolled up, they're thrown in a container in my room. I have hundreds of dollars, but they're 5s or 1s. And people are like, well, why is the 5s? I remember a time during my first marriage, I needed $5, and the questions came, and where's the receipt? And where's this? And where's that? And I'm like, I will never ask anybody for $5 in my life again. Until this day, I don't. I dated people and was like, you need anything? I said, no, I'm good. I work. So, and I talk about this in the next book. $5, you'll never see lipstick on Karen's face. So there's things we take because of trauma. And when he said that, I'm like, ooh, I got chills, because it don't happen to just me. So this is what we do need to teach people about red flags, hit in the nose. It needs to be a class, seminars. It needs to be more of these free social media conversations, because somebody is going to listen that gets it and say, you know what Naeem said made sense. People ask me that question 100 times, but until right now, I get it. What Karen said finally makes sense, because we can promote, we can talk to people. I've been in hundreds of schools and all these businesses talking about this, but it takes I don't want to say a special person, but it takes a special conversation at the right time for somebody that where the light bulb clicks and say, now I understand. What I learned a long time ago that we have, and I said this on the last broadcast, and I can't remember her name right now. She said what it was. We will hold stuff in the back of our mind until we mentally can deal with it. I lost a brother to suicide. And after that, I did some studying on that, because there's a lot we endure. We are resilient people, but there's only so much we can take. So giving people material and tools, you know, people, when you get pregnant, you go to the class and they give you books like this and how to be a mother and how to be, nothing in them books help you. Nothing. It is until you actually understand it for yourself. I have a twin sister. We understand things like night and day. So until you get it for yourself. So I'm grateful for this because there's 4 of us on here. 8 people is going to pick one thing that I said, one thing Naeem said, one thing Jamila said, and one thing Chuck said. And that might be the only thing they remember until the next show come on or they watch the repeat. So what we got to remember is what's healthy and what's unhealthy for me may not be healthy or unhealthy to Jamila because I'm going to receive it different because of what I went through, and she's going to receive it different. And some of us are stronger than others, where we be like, he better give me that $5. I don't know who he's talking to, you know. So we got to look at it that way. But I got my $5, and hey, Chuck, I'll be like, Chuck, send me $5 and don't ask for it back.
Okay.
But you know what, Karen, what Naeem said, that brought up flashbacks in my marriage because abuse can be financial too. It can be financial. Yep. It is. Because, you know, usually the men make, you know, are the breadwinners, and I had 2 babies back to back and I couldn't work. So, I mean, that is abuse. And you know, that's control. That's power. So that's a good point.
But Jamila, I probably was asking for my own $5. You know, I've learned separate accounts now and all that, but I probably was asking for my own $5, which is astounding to me right now because we're trained the men handle that stuff back in the day. Praise God, it's a new season, and we don't have to be like that right now because financial abuse is so big. I worked with some people where they didn't know how to open up a bank account. They didn't know how to use a debit card. They didn't know how to write a check. One lady didn't even know how to use the stove in her house. The abuse went from childhood to when she got married. She was told, no, you don't touch nothing. So I'm teaching her how to use a stove in a shelter. So the abuse all around is like deeper than we know. But a lot of us think the grass is green on the other side. And if you've been abused traumatically as a child, somebody telling you can't have $5 mean nothing. That is like nothing compared to what you endured. I remember reading the series, A Child Called It, the young boy that was abused so bad as a child. And the stuff he had to endure and go through, they made movies about it and everything. Nobody should have to go through. And he's dealing with it day in and day out. So nobody's exempt. Nobody's exempt.
And that's Stockholm syndrome, right, Karen? It's like, well, they only beat me, came in my room and beat me 3 times today, but normally it's 7. Yeah. So this is a good day.
Right.
It's a good day today. And one question you asked, how does someone come out of that environment and then have a healthy relationship? The truth is they don't. They don't come out of that environment and have a healthy relationship because they don't know what a healthy relationship is or what it looks like, what it feels like. And there can even be trauma or misidentification where it's like someone's being nice to me, someone's asking me consent, someone's offering me something without asking anything back. I'm suspicious. This is not normal, right? To me, when I'm coming from an abusive scenario. So just like you said, we all said, Sky said here, you need a class, need to learn what abuse is and what healthy relationships are. We need to learn it and you need to be instructed. For example, like saying a child never was given shoes or never taught how to tie their shoes for their whole life. And then they go out into the world and someone gives them shoes. So how do they now put these shoes on the right foot? How do they now tie these shoes up correctly? They don't. They were never taught how to tie their shoes. They were never taught how shoes work. So how do you expect them to know how to tie their shoes all of a sudden? They never were taught how it's done. So you can't blame the victim. They've been programmed. Right. They've been conditioned. They've been indoctrinated. They've been abused. And it starts here. and it's reinforced with the physical, and the emotional abuse.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's perfect. You don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? And that explains a lot too. If you go to somebody and you say, just saying hello to some people, and they're like, "Why is he saying hello to me?" You know what I mean? So you got to think about that. Or if you hold the door for somebody, or you give them something, hey, you need here's $5, man. Go ahead. Oh, it must be something underhanded, but he must want something, or what's going on. So again, man, it's a lot of miscommunication out there. It's a lot of I guess people that are in abusive relationships don't realize it, because I see it a lot. If you, like I said, the scenarios I just gave, and it's like the reactions are crazy. Like that's normal. Like if I want to give you something, I'm giving you something. It's not, I don't want anything in return. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I see that a lot. But we do have. I'm sorry.
Chuck, before you go to the question, I don't want to forget, because when Naeem was saying, like, when it took me years. I'm in a healthy relationship now. I'm in a healthy marriage now. But I will tell you this: when we started dating, because after, I dated some people after divorce that was like characteristics that I was used to. My husband now, I thought he was too nice. I had a friend call him, and I'll tell y'all, read this later. I had a friend call him and say, she needs you, not want. She needs you to stop sending her flowers. Because in my mind, I'm like, why is he so nice? In my mind is like, okay, something's gonna happen. To the point where we ended up getting together. We're planning this big, beautiful wedding. We had like 30-something people in the wedding, all these guests. But a week before the wedding, I called another friend and said, I can't marry him. He hasn't been through nothing. He hasn't been broken like me. He hasn't been hurt like me. It's not going to work, because I know something is going to happen, because I'm waiting for him to act like the ex. I'm waiting for him to act like my childhood. And so my friend was like, thank God, like, girl, you better get off this phone and go get married, But it can happen, but it is a day-to-day process, because when triggers come, like Naeem was saying, sometimes we got to remind ourselves not to be those people who we fled from, because we act like that. So it is possible. So I said, from the grace of God, I'm grateful for where I am today. I say it was training, but should I have gone through there? I don't know. That ain't my call, but it is possible. And I want people to understand, it is possible for you to be whole again after you've been abused. It is possible for you to hold that head up higher than you ever held it up before. And it is possible for you to find somebody who you are supposed to be with. We got to stop looking for people, because we, look for those who we're used to or familiar with. Because I was like, I ain't dating him. He ain't even my type. What is our type? My type was craziness. So look how things worked out. So we got to understand that things can change, but we got, like Naeem said, we got to start here with ourselves. And I will tell anybody, please, if you get out of an abusive situation, and it bothered me so much running shelter programs, before we find somebody somewhere safe to go, they talking about the next boyfriend. No, worry about yourself. Do you like baths or showers? Do you like rainy days or snow? Worry about yourself. I say, what's your middle name? If you can't answer these questions real fast, you don't know who you are. So you don't need to be in another relationship.
That's great. Awesome. Yeah, that was awesome, Karen. Appreciate it. Man, yeah. So we're gonna go right to the question. I don't want them to think we're ignoring them, because they've been actually, commenting over here. Sky Darling, she says abusive. I think we were talking about, I think Naeem was talking about what's abusive and what's not. I think she answered that, I think, at that time. And then Sky, she needs a class like this, please. So that sounds good. You might be on to something. You know what I mean? Jose says, hey, good people. What's going on, Jose? There. What's up, brother? How you doing? And Sky says, when the abuser has a child with that victim and their siblings have a different father, what advice would you give to make the child not hold on, how did she put this? Child might feel like an outsider when conversations among their siblings' father come up and the abuser's name doesn't. Keep in mind that the siblings are sensitive, sometimes are unaware, and don't want their sister or brother to feel uncomfortable. Okay, I kind of see what she's saying, as far as I see what she's saying here. So anybody can give her any advice on that one there?
I'm sorry. I think that's when the village needs to come in. The family needs to come in and be that big support. And can we please stop talking about the abuser, the ex-husband, the ex-wife, the neighbor in front of our children? Children need to have their children's stuff. Now, if the child comes to you with a question, that's kind of different. And sometimes it's not, you're not being rude or disrespectful if you say, okay, well, why don't we talk about this later, or answer that child's question at another time. But we need to start making the children feel like children again. They're carrying too many burdens already. So this is where the family need to jump in. And I feel so bad for stepchildren. I feel so bad for children in these scenarios because there's not enough communication. I grew up a child where nobody would even tell me, honestly, how my mother was murdered, and I had to find out at 22. But I see the whispering, and I see this, and then this cousin knows that. That's what we have to stop. And then I ended up in a situation with step parent or whatever. So you're making our minds think too much. And so I think we got to get to the point where we go back 100 years ago where you ain't have certain conversations in front of children. You excuse them. We got to get back to the root of some things. But the family needs to come together. Who is that child's favorite aunt or uncle? Who is a positive influence in their life?
Right.
Let them into the picture and say, I don't know how to deal with this. I need some help explaining this to the babies.
All right. That's awesome. And Scott says, I'll share this broadcasting as well. So, hey, great answers and great comments out there. Definitely keep them coming. And that was awesome.
I know we gotta get off in a moment. I just want to address a couple things. One is this whole attraction thing. People say the law of attraction. Oh, I keep attracting this person, this kind of person, abusive person. I remember having this conversation in one of our first, maybe the very first Feel Good Talk Love 101 episode we did, Charles, where I was like, it's not about what you attract. It's about what you choose. Okay. We all attract all kinds of people. We attract wealthy people, people in poverty. We attract people who are healthy, unhealthy. We attract people who are abusive, people who are caring. The question is, why do you keep choosing the person that is abusive,
right,
other than choosing the person that's caring? Because then you're blamed, like, oh, the universe, or is just conspiring against me. It's like, no, actually, you overlook because you don't know what real love, care, and affection look like. So you're mislabeling it, and you're saying that I'm familiar with this. But just because you're familiar with it, it doesn't make it healthy. That's the thing. And can you show my screen one more time? I just want to end us with some questions. So this is more control stuff. So control of finances, monitor finances, access finances without permission, involve financial exploitation. Yes or no? Are you expected or expecting to join finances? Are your finances being accessed with or monitored without your permission? Do you monitor or access their finances without their permission? Are you being told what to do with your money? And then rules regarding social interactions. Are there rules for how you're allowed to interact with other people that they made for you? Having social restriction and social isolation. Are there certain people you are not allowed to interact with and must cut off to be in this relationship? Do you require this of them? Are these parts of a healthy relationship? Require reporting of activities. Do you have to report your comings and goings and doings and dealings to each other? Do you have to ask permission to make decisions that do not involve them? Again, that do not involve them. You want to go take yourself on a date. Do you have to ask their permission? Do you have to require permission from them about their personal decisions? All right. Again, so there's so much, and we need a class on it. But again, y'all down to do a class? I can create a class in 24 hours. So I've been known to write books in under 3 days. So just let me know. I'm down. I'm ready.
Yes, he has.
I think a class is so necessary. There's so much. So many layers to this topic. But I want to throw out some other things from China's perspective. Her baby's father threw away the baby's formula. When people, he isolated her from her friends and family. He 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 told the baby, the little 5-year-old, she was ugly because she was dark skinned. He favored one child over the other. I wish the mom was here, but all these things seem like petty things. He was jealous because she did have a family. So much that you talked about, Naeem and Karen, that as conversations with the mother, she would be saying, yeah. She was locked up. He had her. He called the police, and she went to jail. She was a nurse. She was a nurturer, a caring, loving person, and she tried to save him. But at the end of the day, she lost her life. She, I guess the term, I call it a pimp term, but if you love me, you would do this, you would do that. You would try this drug, you would have a threesome. So all these things, it's just layers and layers on abuse. But as we close this segment, and Naeem, I want you to talk about this. How does abusive relationship affect children? From your philosophy of your love model, how does this affect children?
I'll talk about it scientifically, that between the ages of 0 and 7, at least, there's more, but children's brains, literal brains, are in a different brain state than we are as adults with our critical thinking minds. We're in what's called beta waves. They're usually in theta or theta or theta waves, which is the same kind of waves that you are in when you're asleep. It's direct access into the subconscious mind. So if you, for example, if someone sees a little bug crawling and you between us adults, and then Karen, sees the bug and she just smashes it. But then if Charles sees the bug and he's like, oh, and he gets afraid of it, I can look at that and say, okay, y'all had different reactions to the bug. But as a child, if you demonstrate to them that you're afraid when you see a bug, they're gonna encode that into their brain that, oh, bugs, fear, that's how I should react, because they look at you as a model for their behavior and a model for their thinking. So it's not even a theoretical, philosophical thing. It's scientifically, whatever you model to the children at that age, whether it's good, bad, kind, loving, nice, they're going to download that like a computer and then do that. That's why we wonder why they recreate these relationships when they get older. It's because they've literally been programmed to do it. That's why you have to be so careful. Like, we were saying, like Karen was saying, let children have their children time and have adult conversations and responsibilities with adults. God bless those of us who were able to have a childhood where we didn't know how bad it was, that what our parents or our caregivers were going through. Because it's not our job as a child to be like, someone's dropping you off to school, like, well, I hope I can make it to school to pick you up, but the car, might not have enough money to get to the mechanic, and even if I do, that money had to go to the house, so we might be evicted by the time you get that back to the house. Like, I'm trying to learn the ABCs. Like, what's that got to do with anything? You know what I mean? I'm trying to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, eviction, do, re, mi. Like, I don't know nothing about that as a child. If and when you get evicted and you got to go to your cousin's house, your family's house, be like, we having a sleepover. All right. Don't be telling about how tragic things are. That's not that's not what they're built for. Let them enjoy their childhood. Children are so resilient. They can deal with almost any amount of physical circumstances, whether it be, poverty, no electricity, what have you, if they know that the love is there. Okay. So if they know that the love is there and they don't see you over here crying every 5 minutes or complaining every 5 minutes or, being.
I think we lost him there for a second.
Yeah, he froze.
He froze on us. Oh, he was getting into it too. I was,
Yeah. Oh, he's right on track.
He's right on spot. Yeah, definitely. Yep. I mean, I remember when we were coming up, I didn't know we didn't have, you know what I mean? So it was like, you didn't know you were poor. You were like,
can y'all hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Naeem.
Oh yeah, I was just telling my little child how they just cut off my internet and had to go real quick and pay the bill. And I was like, hey, if I didn't buy you that PlayStation game, I wouldn't have had my internet cut off. And I'll just berating them over here on the side while I pay the petrol real quick. But you shouldn't do that to children. I'm just telling you, shouldn't do that. Leave them alone. Let them have fun.
Yeah, Naeem, I was just telling them how, like, when I was coming up, I didn't know we didn't have any money, like that. I mean, I thought we were all right. You know what I'm saying?
Me too.
My parents didn't, put that, into our mind. They didn't say anything, and we didn't know. So it was like, all right, cool. We didn't know they might have been struggling. We didn't know that. So that's definitely very important not to bring those problems on to your kids. And unfortunately, a lot of parents want to be their kids' friends versus the parent, and just like I said, intoxicate their minds with all kinds of filth and crazy stuff, and then wonder why they having problems later on in life in school and all the other stuff. So again, that's very important though. So yeah.
I would like to ask you both if we can continue this conversation next Saturday and maybe come up with the second part of some solutions, some exit strategies.
I'm down for that. I got a whole time.
Yeah. I think we just touched the surface of this. Karen, are you available?
I got one meeting at 10, but I'm free the whole rest of the day.
Okay. So let's plan on just coming back.
We're talking Sunday, right? Because you said something about Saturday. Just want to make sure that Karen's Saturday or Sunday, Jamila? Sunday, right? Am I correct? Jamila?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same place, same time. Yeah. So, we'll continue this conversation. It is important, and hopefully we'll come up with some exit strategies, and so we won't have any more Chinas. And maybe we can build a curriculum so that people that need help can get help.
Right. And Jamila, since you brought up exit strategies, what I would think we should do, we can promote and talk and share everything we know. But as far as a lot of the exit strategies, if anybody needs some advice or information, maybe privately message, because that's one thing, you shouldn't share them all, because abusers sometimes are sitting right next to people watching and listening.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we try to do is, like Naeem said, it's the mindset. Nothing personal, but if it's applicable to you, then you'll have some information. And I think this is very important. And feel like the hour went by like in 10 minutes. We just touched the surface. Right. And I just want to use this opportunity to thank you guys for your time. Sometimes feel good talk, it don't feel good, but it's so necessary. Mm-hmm. And I think in an effort to help other people, I always try to touch the hard subjects. And it's not easy, it don't feel good. It's just like watching George Floyd's trial. It don't feel good, but I want to know about it. I want to learn, I want to grow. And when I encounter other, parents, I'll be able to, I'm not going to judge, but maybe I can give them Naeem's book, or I can, give them Karen's book, So we always like to entertain, enlighten, and educate. And we did all three today. And I thank you, Naeem, and I thank you, Karen. Of course, Chuck, thank you. for giving this hour to China and just talking about her. And I know the type of person she was. She would probably want to help other people not go through what she's gone through. And I want her to rest in love and just knowing that people love you. She was loved. So thank you guys.
And what you just said, sometimes feel good talk is not always you don't feel good like certain conversations, but we had these conversations so that you can feel good. So again, we are working our way to feel good. So that's awesome, especially giving out advice that people definitely need. So it's definitely needed conversation because I see it a lot. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm
so
ready
we
to
thank
march.
you guys. Any last words, Naeem? You know what? Tell people where they can get that CULT book at. We need that.
Can you share my screen again? Yes. So I was just given the curriculum about how to, so you got how to escape it, the recovery process, identifying someone who's in a unhealthy relationship, and helping someone in a cult, how to help your loved one escape that abusive relationship. So the curriculum is already here, y'all. We talking about all of this 10 lessons about abusive relationships, and the good thing is that it's here, it's available, it's on Amazon. Just put my name in. I'll put in Cult 101, a guide to understanding abusive mindset and behavior, and and that along with other books of mine are available too, so you can check that out. So
thank you. Karen, where can we get your books?
I have books that I do send to persons who are interested. They can message me. They are also on my website, which is gumroad.com/KYD Brown. My first 2 books are on Amazon, and the 4th one will also be on Amazon as well. So they're out there. Oh, Barnes and Noble's, ebooks and everything. So the books are out there. And then this book here, which I did share with you and Miss Karen, I blessed Miss Karen with one in honor of China, telling our story, surviving and thriving. It's myself and 4 other women, where we kind of do snapshots of coping and dealing with somebody murdered, killed, any type of scenario, how we lost somebody or a child that died at birth. And it's a good little nugget for people that may need to go through something. And I think you guys blessing the world with having myself and Naeem. I'm just gonna give us a pat on our back, because this is resources we can hold to ourselves, even though a lot of times it's painful for us to write, research, and do this. But I'm grateful that we have, because I'm going to just say this forever. If somebody gets one nugget out of one paragraph we may write or say, that's the blessing right there.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And you give so freely, both of you guys. You give so freely, unconditionally. And we appreciate that. It's a blessing. Chuck, you have any last words and comments?
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know where they could find us at. You can find us at Feel Good Talk. You can find us at LinkedIn at Feel Good Talk. You can find us on Facebook at Feel Good Talk. You can find us at YouTube at FGT Mind, Body, Soul, and Business, and Instagram at Feel.Good.Talk. So definitely, that's all of our locations. You can find us on social media. So hey, it was an awesome conversation. Hey, I'd like to thank everybody for coming on, Karen, Naeem, and of course, Jamila. Awesome show. Thanks for the great information. We definitely appreciate y'all for giving out this information. And, it's definitely needed. So I'm looking forward to continue on part 2 and learn some more. So we did have some comments out there. I get to the last comments. We have Izzy Meditate. She says, hello, beautifuls. She told Karen a very good point, Karen. And Sky Dawn says, rest in love, say their names, China, and many others out there. And also Trina Hearn says, good afternoon, love. So, thanks for tuning in. We definitely appreciate y'all. And any last words out of here? I guess we'll start with ladies first. So I'm sorry, I'm dropping stuff over here. We'll start off with Karen. Karen, you got anything to say before we get out of here? Any last thing?
Just everybody remember, abuse does hurt, but you are loved.
Awesome. Naeem, anything, brother?
Remember that a cult is not just a group of a bunch of people following the leader. It's an abusive relationship. And a relationship can be two people. So the part about being in a cult is that you don't know you're in it. And we've all been there, done that. So some of us are still in it. And this education is for all of us so that we can help each other. And again, some of us never learn how to tie our shoes, but you can't accuse and judge them for walking around with their shoes untied. And when they trip every now and then, why don't you take them to the side, ask them if they like another way to do this thing with the shoes, aka relationships. So that's all. Thanks for listening.
And everything ends with you, Jamila. So you go ahead and do what you do.
Oh, well, I'm happy and I'm glad we did the show, Chuck. And we always, you know how we in the show, Naeem? We in the show, we all go like, peace, because we want to spread peace and love. So we count to 3 and we do our little peace thing. You ready, Chuck?
Yep.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Peace.